This meeting is being recorded.
Hey, Jordan.
Hi.
Hello. Your hair looks good.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Mhm.
Oh, I can't hear you. Okay. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That was my fault.
Mhm.
Sorry about
You're
that. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm like having to notify everyone that I had to change the link.
okay. No problem.
Oh gosh, technology. Okay. Ava, are you on here? I thought I saw you join.
No, here.
Okay, cool. Super, super cool. I'm gonna give it a few minutes to let everybody get on, since I was having some kind of issues. How's y'all's December holiday season been going for y'all?
So far, so good.
Yeah. Hopefully it's relaxing in some sort.
Oh, so busy.
Uh,
Always something.
Shoot. Okay. So today, we're gonna dive into a couple different things, and I'm gonna try to get all of this done in a timely fashion. Unfortunately, I had technical difficulties, so it's gonna cut into our time a bit, but I will send this to everybody too if you guys have to jump off. So, goal setting is something that I do every year. I typically like to do it in November or October, because I like to start the year like already in the mix of doing what all of the things that I'm wanting to plan to do. Um I don't like to be in the mix and in the crowd and the energy of everyone who's like starting January 1st. My whole life is going to be different. So I like to get everything started much earlier than that. And I should have done this call probably back in um November. It just kind of got away from me. But today, I'm like I've mentioned before, I'm gonna share a lot of different things. I don't know why Finian is having an issue joining. Today I'm gonna share a lot of different things, and obviously take what feels good for you and ignore all of the other stuff if it doesn't feel relevant. But ultimately, I'm just going to be showing you guys what it is that I do on a pretty regular basis when it comes to setting goals or setting intentions for what I'm trying to accomplish. So let's see, we have about 9 people in here. Let me just make sure nobody else is having any issues. Okay. So how many of you guys actually set goals? And you guys can put this in the group chat or like in the Zoom chat, or you can say it out loud. How many of you guys actually do some sort of like intention setting or like goal setting each year, or maybe even on like a quarterly basis?
I do. I try to do like a monthly goal, but sometimes they are not achieved for whatever reason. But yes.
Cool.
Yeah, I did a vision board last year and it actually really helped me a lot. I actually did really well with it. I had like printed out a lot of pictures. It's kind of tacky and lame, but like I just tried to put them all above like my bed. Like made it where it looks like cute and it's like where I see him all the time. And it actually really helped, but I just didn't have very specific goals. So I think is a goal for me to have now is to make my goals more specific. Like the vision board really actually helped a lot. But probably my goal now is to get more specific goals.
Awesome. Well, I think you nailed it right on the head, Ava. I think that's like, I think there's people who, there's a couple different types of people, but if you're someone who tries to set goals, that's awesome. But like the very next step is actually getting really intentional about whatever your goals are. Because ultimately, if we're just setting goals and we don't have some sort of an action plan, then we're kind of just, they're kind of just like fantasies a bit. So today I wanted to really dive into just kind of what I do on a goal setting, just my goal setting strategy. Now, this might seem overwhelming and this might seem like a lot, but I promise you, if you can dedicate maybe a couple of hours to what I'm gonna break down to you guys today, if you guys can like maybe say next Sunday afternoon, I'm gonna dedicate 2 hours of my time to do this, I promise you it's gonna be well worth your time. So I hope that I got the majority of people that we're trying to get on this call on. If anybody is in our school platform or in our company group chat or on our Facebook group, if anybody sees anybody who's like having trouble getting on, if y'all wouldn't mind sending them the link, that would be awesome. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So ultimately, what I just kind of broke down if you're just getting on the call is that goal setting is super, super important. If you're not setting goals, if you don't have actually action plans for your goals or your intentions, I like the word intention better. But if you don't have an actual plan of some sort or strategy, we're really just kind of like living in fantasy world about what we want our lives to look like. And I'm really a big advocate for when we set goals. This call is not just about like how much money you want to make next year. This really is about overall what you want your life to look like, because I'm a really big believer that you can't have a really awesome work life, but then your relationships are not like going well. Like I really believe in order for us to maintain um maintain any type of success in any area of our lives, like it all has to come with some sort of a balance. So I think that today I want to start to like kind of get your mind thinking about like all of the areas of your lives, and then how can you make a strategy and a plan in order to get all of those things lined up so that you don't end up finding yourself really being successful in one area and then lacking in another area. Because for me, in my experience, when that has happened, it ultimately left me in complete burnout overall with my whole life. So I'm a really, really, really big believer in like making sure that everything is cohesively like going in our lives. So the first thing that I want to do, and y'all are more than welcome to turn your cameras off for this, but I want to just invite you guys to close your eyes and literally start to think about like what it is that you want the next 30, 60, 6 months to look like for you. And I know this might seem silly, but I promise you, some of us don't ever take the time to actually like genuinely think about what it is that we want our lives to look like. And so I just want to take a few minutes for us to close our eyes, maybe take a couple of deep breaths, turn your camera off if it feels good, and really start to think about like, what is it that you want your business to look like this upcoming year? What is it that you want your relationships or your family life to look like? How much money are you hoping to have in your bank account in the next 6 months? And what about you personally? Like, what do you want your relationship with yourself to look like? Are you taking time off every 2 weeks? Are you going on a hike? Like, I want you guys to get really, really intentional about starting to think about what it is that you want your lives to look like. As I mentioned, and as we were kind of talking about before we got started, like it is super important for us to actually envision what it is that we want our lives to be. So I just wanted to give you guys a few minutes to start to think about that. Start to think about what you want your relationships to look like, your business, your financial portfolio, maybe, what you want your personal life with yourself to look like, maybe your relationships with a partner or with your children, your health, your wellness. Start to think about all of these different topics and just get really, really specific with what you want that to look like. So I'll give you all a few minutes. And for those of you that are just now joining, we have our eyes closed and we're starting to really think about what we want the next 96 months, year to look like. So when I'm doing this, I literally am thinking about, how do I want to wake up every morning? Am I waking up feeling energized? Am I waking up feeling groggy? I'm thinking about, like, how do I want to operate in my business? Do I want to feel energized in my business? Do I want to feel inspired by my business? When I'm thinking about my relationships, I'm thinking about, do I want to be pulling myself super thin and like trying to help everybody or be a part of everybody's every single event I'm invited to? Or do I want to really be intentional about like where I spend my time? Like, these are all things that I'm truly thinking about whenever I'm envisioning what is it that I want my life to look like. I get very, very specific about how I want to feel, like energy wise, how I want my body to look, to feel, how I want my bank account to feel. Do I want to like have to second guess like spending on something? Do I want to feel really secure financially, like to be able to go on vacation? Like, these are all things that I dive deep into myself whenever I'm thinking about what I want my life to look like. So now that we've gotten a few minutes to kind of start brainstorming on that, you guys can open back your eyes. You're more than welcome to turn your cameras back on, or you can keep them off. But I am going to dive into sharing my screen with you guys. So, okay, you guys can see my screen. So basically, some of the things that you guys maybe thought about or envisioned, I went ahead and started to make just like a random list of these topics. So I want to encourage you guys, while I'm speaking and while we're on this call, like feel free to be like taking notes or like writing out your own goals, your own visions. I'm gonna obviously send the recording and the outline of this call, but the point of this call is to actually get everybody like thinking and moving and getting their ideas going for their own lives. So definitely don't feel like you're being rude if you're like writing or taking notes whenever I'm talking about this. So something that I did this go around this year is that I started to actually write out a list of all of my goals, and I wanted to put it into Chat GPT to like figure out, to see exactly what happened when I did this. And now, as Ava mentioned earlier, she did a vision board this past year. I've literally been doing vision boards for the past like 9 years, and I know that I've like told some of you guys that have either taken some of like the training from our group, or those of you that have been a part of our team, like I'm really big about vision boards and setting goals and setting intentions. So this year I was like, let me just see what Chat GPT is going to throw out if I like put in my goals. So I went ahead, and I want to encourage you guys, make a actual like make a quadrant or make a list somewhere on a piece of paper, or maybe you're typing it into like your note section of your phone or computer. But I went ahead and started to make a list of, I think it's like 5 categories. So goals that I want my health, wellness, mental health, like goals for that, goals for adventure, play, hobbies, fun, travel. This category, I think, is like super overlooked whenever we become adults, because most of us don't actually fit into our schedule for us to have our own personal time and for us to just do fun stuff just for the heck of it. So this is something that I think is super, super important, is to have like a play, adventure, travel section of our goals and our intentions. Then we have the next section is career. So like, regardless of what industry you're in, your career can have lots of different goals. Maybe you're trying to get a promotion, maybe you're trying to start your own company, maybe you're trying to start a side hustle. Like maybe you have whatever those goals are, but getting really intentional. And as Ava said earlier, getting very specific about all of these categories. So if you're somebody who's like, hey, I want to make X amount of money next year, like how many clients do you need to help a month? How many leads do you need to get a month to convert into that number of clients? Like getting extremely, extremely specific about your goals. So we have health, wellness, mental health. We have adventure, fun, play. We have career. We have financial. Maybe this is like paying off any debts. Maybe this is saving a certain amount of money. Maybe it has to do with some sort of like investment that you want to get into. That's another category. Education and learning. Those of you guys that are probably on this call are probably on the same page as me. That I think that, again, as adults, a lot of times we just like stop learning. And I think it's really intentional for us to like keep our minds moving and going, and also just be like growing regardless what age we are, to constantly be learning. So one year I did like, I wanted to read one book every single month. This year, like some of my education stuff is like, I want to learn to play an instrument. I want to learn to speak Spanish. Like these are some of the things that I have had on my list in the past. And then relationships is the last category. So this is super important, I think, too, because I think a lot of times whenever we think of goals, we get really distracted by like financial goals or accomplishments, like, oh, I want to buy a new car or I want to move to this new city. But I think even just setting goals and intentions with our relationships, I believe is super, super important. So those of you that have kids, like maybe you want to set 1 or 2 hours every single week that you want to like have one-on-one, no phone, no TV time with your child. Maybe that's with a spouse, or maybe that's with a friend. Getting really intentional about your relationships. Maybe you're, hey, I want to call my parents or my grandparents once a month and have a meaningful conversation. Like this is really, really important. So these are all of the categories: relationships, education, financial, career, adventure, and health and wellness. So these are the categories that I have. So I want to encourage you guys to start writing down some, like maybe jot down some notes for yourself that you can fit into these categories. And as I was speaking on earlier, some of you guys got in here late and that was my fault, but balance is super, super important in order to not have burnout. So making sure that like we actually attend to all of the different categories of our lives, I believe is super important, not only like for your relationships, but also like for your financial success, like very, very important. So I went in and like I mentioned, I just kind of started to jot down some random ideas here. And I put into ChatGPT, and the prompt that I'm using is take the below list of goals and create an actionable 6 to 12 month timeline with checklists in the first 90 days of the year to hold accountability steps that can be taken to achieve these goals. Write this in a timeline with weekly and monthly check-ins. So this is what it spit out to me. So it has my first 90 days, which is January through March. As I mentioned earlier in this call, I like to do my intention goal settings starting in November typically, because I like to already in January be like on the path of doing what I'm wanting to be doing. But since we're doing this call right now, you can use this prompt and state the same thing, like, hey, start the first 90 days is kind of like a cushion period of like me getting prepared in order to really dive into my goals. So this spit out a plan for January. It gave me like what the check-ins are going to be. It gave me what we're going to focus on in January and February, March, and all the way down. And it gets more and more detailed on it. So what I've done this year is I've done an actual actionable plan for my goals by the category. And then what I did is I went in, or actually I haven't done this yet. I'm going to go in and put it on my Google Calendar. So those of you guys, again, that have taken any of our trainings, I'm super big about Google Calendar. So you can go in and download Google Calendar on your phone, or you can have it on your computer. I suggest that you do it for both. And you can have everything categorized by color. If you are going to say like, hey, I want to have go for a hike, or one day a month I want to take a pottery class, whatever your goal is, actually putting it on your calendar and color coordinating it, saying like, hey, on Tuesday the 5th, I'm going to go out and do this. So that is going to be the next step that I highly encourage you guys to do. As I mentioned, some of this stuff might seem a bit overwhelming because there's a lot of steps to this, but I promise you that if you can dedicate a couple of hours like of this month to get this done, it's going to really set you up next year in a really good space. So other than Google Calendar, the next thing that I've really, really enjoyed is this is an app called Productive. There's a lot of different apps that are like this, but this is just the one that I've used in the past. And this is basically a like task management system, or not system, but it basically helps you track like your like task that you set for yourself to complete. So not only do I come to writing a list out of my goals, putting it into Chat GPT, making a list of like all of the things that I want to accomplish with an actionable plan that Chat GPT spit out to me in a few seconds. Then I go and put notifications in my calendar. So when I wake up every day or when I start my week, I can look and say, okay, on Tuesday, I have this thing that I need to accomplish in order to meet my intentions and meet my goals. The next thing with this Productive app is you can actually set up these things, and maybe you don't do the Google Calendar, maybe you just do this Productive app, whatever works for you and feels good for you. But I really like this app because you can actually like check off whenever you've completed something, and it will allow you to pull stats. So if I am saying that I'm going to work out 3 days a week or 4 days a week, I can pull the stats of like last week and say, okay, well, you actually only did that twice. So I really, really like these types of systems that actually allow you to see how productive you were. And it's not just like something that I can look at a calendar and be like, oh, well, I didn't do this. I didn't do this. I didn't do this. I feel like this is a little bit more productive to my psyche to be like, okay, well, you're productive like 25% of the time in this certain area. So let's go ahead and like focus a little bit deeper on that category. So I want to encourage you guys right now, if y'all want to like look up Productive, I think it's a free app on Apple. I don't know on the other phones, but this is a really great app. Another really great app that I have used is this Dailyo app, I guess. And this is more so about like your mood, your mindset. It's kind of similar to the Productive app, but I really like it because what it allows you to do is it allows you to be able to look at the stats and see like correlations. Oh, well, 5 days out of the month you felt really happy, because it allows you to like categorize like your mood, and it'll say, well, 5 days out of the month you felt really happy, and of those 5 days you were always meeting up with a friend, or you were always working out, or you were always eating healthy. It allows you to actually like see what days of the month do I feel good, feel my best, and what was I doing those days? What is starting to show up? And I think that this app is really awesome, because if you're somebody who's kind of like doesn't always feel good, like physically or mentally, or maybe you feel burnt out a lot, like this app is a really great thing, I believe, because it allows you to actually track your energy level, your moods, and be able to see like what it is that you were doing. The next thing that, again, take this or leave this, whatever like feels good for you. But another thing that I've used a lot in the past is Trello. And this is like um a can't think of the word. It's a way for you to be able to track your task. Why can't I think of the word? But ultimately, like if you have all of your stuff in your calendar, if you have your app set up that like have your reminders, and then you want to actually have something that does task management, this is actually really great, where you can have list of things that you're working on. Say one of my goals for my career is that I want to build a team. I can actually have different boards that say, okay, I'm building this team. These are the 5 things I need to do to build the team. I need to post job posts. I need to do interviews. I need to build out a training system. This actual website allows you to create task management so that you can actually plan out and organize all of those things. You can add attachments, you can add checklists, you can add people to the different categories. So if you're working on a project with somebody, or maybe you have like, maybe one of your goals is that you want to hire a virtual assistant to help your business grow. You can add your virtual assistant to whatever category so that they can also be on the same page. So this is like a really great system too. So as I mentioned, all of this stuff can be super overwhelming sounding, but I promise you, if you start this off into small chunks, like maybe today your homework is, I'm going to just complete the list of the 5 categories of things I want to focus on this year. And maybe you're going to put it into ChatGPT to like make that outline. And then maybe this weekend, you're going to worry about putting in notifications on your calendar or setting up some of these apps like the Productive or the Dailyo app. Setting stuff up by chunks, I think, is super, super important because me personally, I can get super, super overwhelmed when I feel like there's a lot of moving steps or a lot of things that need to happen in order for me to do something. So if you guys are like me at all, just don't get overwhelmed by all of the information that I'm sharing that I do. I do all of this stuff in some sort of steps. And when I have the energy also to do these things, I think a lot of us will force ourselves like, oh, I know that I need to set my goals, so let me just sit down and do that right now. That I don't think is productive because you need to be in a good mindset in order to actually start thinking about those things. So that's why I wanted to start this call with like us taking a few minutes to close our eyes, take a couple deep breaths, and really start to think about what it is that we want our like lives to look like. And so definitely don't feel like you need to pressure yourself to get this accomplished before January 1st. Obviously that would be ideal because I think a lot of people get motivated by like dates, but definitely just do these like intention settings, these goal settings whenever you feel like you have the energy to have a clear head to think about these things. I think that is super, super crucial. Now, Ava mentioned earlier vision boards. I am all about vision boards. I am super big about being able to visually see things. I frequently will do like meditations where I will literally visualize, okay, what do I want like my career to look like? What do I want my personal life to look like? I frequently do meditations like that where I'm visualizing those things for myself, but I also, for the last, as I mentioned, 9 years, I also create vision boards, and I will intentionally create a vision board that is in, like, I guess it's portrait like size, and I will make this as my screensaver on my phone. I will make it as my screensaver on my computer, and that way every single time I open up my phone to start scrolling or to answer a client message, or if I'm getting on my computer, I am seeing the vision that I have for my life and for my intentions. So that is a way that like this is a way for us to really never escape what it is that we're trying to do and what our visions and our goals are. There's a lot of us that I think will have different ideas like, oh, well, it would be really nice to take a month off, and go travel, or oh, it would be really nice to take my kids somewhere. I mean, a lot of us have these ideas, but we don't actually physically put anything on paper, or we don't ever, sometimes we'll like think about something and we'll never think about it again until it's been like a year from now. But if you're somebody who's, for instance, is like, hey, I want to really take up pottery, and you see pottery on your vision board on your phone or on your computer every single day, multiple times a day, there's really no way for you to like lose track of that because you're staring at it all the time. So I really encourage you guys to get on Canva, get on, I've even seen people do it on like Pinterest, but I guess Pinterest to me wouldn't be as great because you can't like put that as a background on your phone. But get on some type of software where you can like create visually what you want your life to look like. And I do this by literally just picking something, and say I want to meditate every single day. I will literally just put a photo here of somebody meditating. Say I really want financial freedom. I might go to my photos and put something that says financial freedom. Like, these are some of the words that I was using. Like, I wanted to go surfing. Like, I start to make a vision board for what I want my life to look like. I want to do Pilates. So I really encourage you guys to make a vision board through Canva, through whatever software you want, and just start utilizing whatever intentions that you're wanting to set for this upcoming year. These are, I'm not going to give you all of my goals and intentions for my life, but these are some of the ones that I was doing. So the next thing that I wanted to do is, let's see, we're at 12:38. Does anybody want to share any of like your own goals or intentions that you're wanting to work on setting this year? And you can either put them in the group chat or you can say them out loud.
I would like to consistently get 5 apartment closings a month, because that would make the difference for me between being full-time and not being full-time.
Have you broken down how many leads it's going to take you to do that?
No, I have not, but I should.
Yeah, so I definitely like, yeah, definitely I would like, I know we've kind of talked about this before, but like figuring out, okay, well, out of 200 people, I close 10 or something, and just actually figuring out how many people you need to talk to, and then even breaking that down by week. So like, if you're like, I need to talk to 200 people this month, then like you can on a weekly basis say, okay, well, I've only talked to 5 people. I need to hurry up and get to 20 more so that I've accomplished how many people. So I think getting really intentional is super important. Ava, what specifics are you going to think about this year whenever you do your vision board? She's still on the call. She may not be on the call. Oh, she is. Okay. There
we go. I could not figure out how to unmute it. My vision board looks totally different than last year. I'm still gonna focus a lot on like my fitness and health and everything. I definitely did improve. I've been improving, a lot every single day. I could barely run half a mile at the beginning of last year. Now I'm like a 5K in 30 minutes. So like, and I'm just gonna keep improving that. And I'm in a relationship now, so that's gonna be big, continuing that grow. Which, fun story, I'm in that relationship because I talked to this guy about apartments, and he was originally looking for an apartment. And so kind of funny there.
Yeah.
And then, I homeschool my kiddos, so keeping those goals, I have goals on track for him, so keeping goals on that. And really trying to hone in more on my business and getting it way more organized and more consistent. So a lot of stuff different than last year, but still good things.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that as I was talking about in the beginning of this call, I think a lot of times whenever we start thinking about goals, at least for me, like I would be like, oh, well, I want to have 50 people on my team or something. But then I would be completely neglecting, oh, well, you need to make sure that you're taking care of your mental health. Like you need to, do those things. So I think that actually starting to think about like your intention and your goals as far as like everything as a whole is very important. I also think too, like, I think a lot of us, at least me, I can speak how I used to be. A lot of us used to like be very like, oh, I want to get a new car, or I want to move to this new building, or I want to, I don't know, like a lot of stuff like does not things that you can like obtain. I don't want to say like material things, but like just things that you can obtain. But a lot of times we don't even think about like our mind frame too. Like, oh, well, I want to be a more peaceful person, or I want to be a more compassionate person. So like starting to think about those things I think are really important as well, because all of this stuff like all syncs together. Because ultimately, if like say your goal is I want to quit my job, and that's going to require you to get more clients, and in order to get more clients or close more clients, that's going to require you to like be able to close those clients. And if you have a poor, like icky, gross energy because you're burnt out, or you're not giving to yourself, like as far as like working out, or not like taking a moment to actually breathe and rest, like all of this stuff lines up. So that's why I wanted to like have this call today about whenever you're setting your intentions and setting your goals, we have to realize that everything like goes together. So we can't just focus on our career or just our bank accounts. We also need to focus on like our mental health, our wellness, our relationships. Like all of this stuff is super important. And like Ava, you were saying like as far as like how like some things like kind of went down like a yellow brick road or had a domino effect as far as like things that worked out. Like I'm a really big believer, if I'm like also giving into my relationships, it helps me with my business too, because I'm like interacting with people. One of the things that I had on that list, I don't know if you guys saw, was like, I think as adults too, a lot of times we like don't make an emphasis to make new connections or make new friend groups. So a part of that list was like, oh, I want to learn a new hobby. Okay, I'm going to join a group that focuses on that new hobby, on that new hobby. And that also helps you meet new people, which helps you close more clients, which helps you like take that vacation. Like all of the stuff like totally goes hand in hand. So that's why it's really important for us to actually think about very specifically what it is that we want, how we want to feel, what we want our lives, our relationships to look like, and then actually set intentions and set up everything in order for it to like actually work out. So I hope that the stuff that I shared with you guys today was helpful. I try to do a mix of like us visualizing what it is that we want for ourselves, and I really encourage you guys to do that privately on a regular basis. But also like some of us are more visual, so I think the vision boards are really important. And then some of us are more like actually can set out, actually are better at like reading something out or having a timeline. So I think the chat GPT, like actually using that is really, really great too. So hopefully you guys will look into creating a vision board, making a list of your goals, downloading some of those apps. I really like, these are all things. I might sound like a crazy person, but these things have like completely improved my life. Does anybody else want to share any of like your goals, or even maybe like a thought of something that you want to maybe dive deeper into? Oh, there's stuff in the chat. No? Cool. Well, how many of you guys are going to do vision boards this week?
Me, start working on it. I want to get ahead of it before the beginning of the year also.
Awesome.
You should share it when you have it. Take a picture of it.
I will send you guys my vision board. My vision board, I think like Ava was saying, mine looks so different than what it usually does. Normally I have all of these things like, oh, I want to save this amount of money, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. I normally have all these things that I want to do. But this year I actually am finding that I really just want to focus on being present and being at peace. Like I don't like, usually I am such a go-getter, a goal-oriented person, but I think that for the first time in my life, I'm just like, I just want to exist. I want to have good relationships. I want to be at peace. And so that's what my vision board looks like, which is totally different than what they usually do. Oh, Brianna, you're going on a vision board on the 21st. Awesome. Super cool. Well, yeah, do what Ava does or mention that she did. Like you can either do it hard copy, like get it magazines or print off pictures. You can do it like that. And like I've heard people say that they put it on their mirrors. I like to have it digitally on my phone and on my computer because I know that I will look at it all the time. So definitely encourage you guys to do that. I hope that this was helpful. Does anybody else have anything else that you guys want to add that maybe you guys do for intention or goal setting? Awesome, Courtney.
I gotta say that always continuing education and learning more, I think, is a big factor for me.
I'm totally
That's a
agree.
big one. I want to add that in. Like I try and add in like a couple hours a week of some sort to that if I can.
Definitely. I'm just such a big advocate for adults having play time and adults having like education time. I think that this is something that people just like don't even understand how important it is for us to do as adults. So I think like even just envisioning like, okay, I want to learn 3 things this year and just coming up with that list and figuring out how to do that, I think is really, really important. How many of you guys actually incorporate rest or play or adventure time into your lives as adults? I'm just kind of nosy and curious.
I try to like take off Sundays, like not to like show houses or anything like that. And just like if I do work, it's like at home work, like social media.
What do you do on Sundays though?
Oh, well, I like to watch football, so I watch some football games for sure. It's more just like chilling. Like I don't get to chill very often.
Do you ever like do something? I feel like weren't you telling me? I know that we talked about breweries or something because one time we were talking about like doing
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
how many of you guys like actually participate in like doing I'm trying to think of like examples like childlike type things like
Mhm.
painting or adult coloring books or I'm on a soccer league or I'm not really on a soccer league, but how many of y'all actually do stuff that's like that? That's
I'm
not
in
just
a poker league, so I think Mike, I do have a goal this year to be back better at my poker game. But I mean, I'm a part of a poker league that I go to
awesome.
multiple times a week.
That's awesome.
I go to the bounce house with my son at least once a month.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
having the kiddo doing the fun stuff is automatic. We do stuff. He's spoiled with all the jump houses and trampoline parks and everything. So that's automatic if you have kiddos. I feel like all the time.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I think that like I am a really big believer that even just incorporating like it's actually really ironic. I
Mhm.
got into adult coloring books during COVID because I wanted to do something to keep my hands busy. And so like sometimes if I'm watching TV or if I'm just sitting listening to music at my place, like I will be doing an adult coloring book. And I kind of thought only me and my like 75-year-old great aunt like did that, I thought. And then like last night I was actually at my cousin's house and her dad was there and he was just doing an adult coloring book while we were all sitting in the living room talking. And I was like, it made my heart happy because I'm like just doing small things that are actually specifically for us, not like for our kids, not for like the children in our lives, but like actually doing something for us. Like you guys, if you don't participate in adult play of some sort, I promise you, it's a really, really interesting feeling whenever you start like intentionally setting time aside for you to like do something silly that maybe you enjoyed whenever you were younger. It's like it's so funny. Like for me, for instance, I used to love to dance when I was little. So like I have a reminder on my phone, like on Saturday mornings, it's like dance for like one song. Like really silly stuff like that.
I
Oh,
actually love that you're talking about doing kid things because if I know you were talking about how it's automatic for like people with kids to do it. My parents didn't play with me growing up. They didn't. My parents never did. So now that I have my own child and I'm starting to like interact with him, I'm realizing the mental like state that it takes off of me. I'm like, I don't always have to have it together. I can just be silly for like 2 minutes and get back in line. So I love that you're pointing that out.
yeah, I just got chills when you said that actually, because it's like people we just like, not to get so deep on you guys, but like, I just really wanted to have this conversation when it comes to like intention setting and goals, because I think a lot of us, we just get so caught up in like the material, accomplish this, do this, do this, do this. But like, people don't realize how beautiful like your energy is whenever you do start incorporating like rest, play, adventure. Like, how many people live in a city that like, do you actually intentionally say once a month, I'm going to go do something I have never done in Dallas or never done in Austin? A lot of us never explore the cities that we're in. And like, there's so much stuff that's like constantly happening. And so when I started incorporating a lot of this stuff into my own life, I started seeing huge changes within like my business. Like, as Ava mentioned, like in her relationships, like that's why I wanted to like have this conversation about why it's so important to like look at everything as a whole and not just like hyper focus on one category, because all of this stuff really plays in. And if you have incorporating into your life, eating good or working out or incorporating play or adventure into your life, your overall energy and like attitude, people are going to gravitate to you more. It's going to, I'm sure, affect your relationships, affect your bank accounts, all of it. So I'm happy that you see.
Yeah, I will say, you know, same how I said I'm dating. Who I'm dating is very, what are we doing? He likes to go constantly do stuff. And my Uber driving really helped me know the area of the Metroplex so well. If I know, like, well, we can go this side town, that side town, which helps. But also, you know, we do stuff like every week, all the time, anytime we can. But that can in turn then help your business, because then if you can make point to say, oh, I'm going to go out and find one new place I've never been before or one new thing I've ever done before, then when you're exploring those areas, it helps with the apartment locating, because you can be like, oh, there's this that's really cool over there. Oh, there's this restaurant that's really good. So having that type of goal as an apartment locator, a realtor, of just being out in your city more, even if you just didn't find like free things to do, even if it's like you don't even have money, like going to different parks or whatever, even that can help a lot. So that's also been helpful.
Yeah, no, that's super, super true. I'm trying to read through these really quick. I'm reading our group chat. Finney's so funny. Yeah, no, so I hope that this was like a little bit thought provoking for you guys, and I really encourage all of you to write out the list of all the categories. Did everybody get all of the categories that I mentioned today? Your career, your finances, your relationships, your adventure, play, health, wellness. Did everybody get all of that stuff? Okay, cool. So I would encourage y'all, maybe by the end of today, write out a list of like 3 to 5 things per category that you want to focus on. Throw it into Chat GPT. Let me give you guys the prompt, and you guys can use the prompt that I'm about to send you guys, or you guys can use whatever prompt. But as you guys know, with Chat GPT, the more specific you get, the better. So if you guys want to like write out that list of all of the categories and then use that prompt, I encourage you guys to do that by the end of today, and then start using these apps, or start using setting up like your calendar with all of these tasks, and get really, really, really specific. And when it comes to like our finances and our careers, it's easy to get pretty specific with that. But when it comes to like our personal life, our wellness, all of that, like I really encourage you guys, like if one of your goals is, hey, I want to listen to a motivational podcast like once a week, put that on your calendar. Tuesdays at 7 a.m. I'm listening to a motivational podcast. Make sure that you guys are actually putting these things in your calendar or using some sort of like task tracking thing, and just get very, very specific. So thank you guys for joining this call. Sorry about like the hiccup earlier. I have to figure that out with the links in our system. And yeah, does anybody else have anything else y'all want to share? Any thoughts, comments? No? All righty. Well, hopefully, we're gonna have we'll have our normal meeting call next week. And so I will check in with you guys to see who all has completed some of these steps. So I will talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.